The EV market is really starting to come alive with the variety of cars that are now on offer. And that's good for someone like me who wasn't necessarily thrilled with the styling options that the EV market had to offer in those first couple of years. But since then, there have been some aesthetically appealing options that have come to market. Things like the Jaguar I-Pace, the Audi e-tron, the new Mustang Mach-E, and of course the Ioniq 5 from Hyundai for its retro styling. And then there's Kia. They've brought this, it's called the EV6, and I for one think the styling looks pretty stunning. And today, with thanks to John Hughes, I'm going to take you on a bit of a tour of it before getting it out on the road and seeing how it drives. And we'll see if the EV6 is a real contender in the EV market. Prices start from under $70,000 for the base model, which I think they call the Air. And then you have the rear-wheel drive GT line, which is this one here, and that starts at around $75,000. They both share the 168 kilowatts that they get from their single motor. The range at the moment tops out with the all-wheel drive GT line, which will set you back $83,000, but you'll make benefit of 239 kilowatts from that model. But hold on to your hat, because there's going to be a GT model coming out, and we estimate that you're not going to get much change from $100,000, which is a lot of money for a Kia. But keep in mind, this thing is going to be pushing 430 kilowatts, and I for one cannot wait to get my hands on one of those for a bit of a test drive. But let's get straight into it, and I want to start with styling. And it's hard to believe that this is actually based on the same eGMP platform that the Ioniq 5 is from Kia's sister company Hyundai. The front looks very futuristic, especially with these LED running lights. Kia is calling it their digital tiger face. I'm not sure I can quite see that, but I certainly do appreciate a nice LED running light. Down here we have the radar cruise control sensor, and these louvers down here, they actually open automatically for extra cooling. We have a camera mounted in the front grille area, and of course Kia's new corporate badge on the bonnet. All right, let's talk about the side profile, and I'm really not sure whether to call this an SUV or a crossover. It kind of sits in between, but I love this swooping roofline and this kind of blacked out section here for the windows. It's a little bit Lancia Stratos, I heard another journalist say, and I guess I can kind of see it with the way it comes up here. You've also got these funky wing mirrors, which have got this sort of concave external shape, which is really cool. And of course, your EV-esque flush mounted door handles, which are sitting proud at the moment, obviously, because I've walked past with the key. Wheels, 20-inch wheels come standard on the GT line. And although they are designed to be aerodynamic and all that kind of stuff, Kia have worked really hard to make them look not too nerdy, if that makes sense. But it's at the back of the EV6 where I think the designers have turned it up to 11. I love this light bar that runs across the whole width of the body. And these kind of metallic looking sections, textured here, they're actually your indicators, which is a really nice touch. You've got your charge door back here, which you open by giving it a little push. We'll cover charging a little bit later. And to close it, you can just hit this button here, or just give it a gentle nudge and it will shut. I'm somewhat concerned though to wonder how many of these Kia is going to be replacing, because in its open position it does kind of hang out, so I think a few of these are going to get smashed off. Moving on, up here we have this spoiler sitting on the roof. It's a decent size, but I do love how it juts out the side here, and it really makes your eyes kind of come down to these wide haunches on the rear fenders. You've also got a small puddle light sitting underneath. All right, let's look at the cargo space. Okay, the tailgate is power operated. There's a small button down here that you can push to open that, or you can use your key. That will reveal 500 litres of usable cargo space. There is a little bit of extra storage down here as well. You'll also find some additional storage in the front, but to be honest, it's quite limited on these. Not so bad on the rear-wheel drive models, but the all-wheel drive models I think are reduced to about 26 litres, so you wouldn't want to be putting anything big in there. There is actually a specific storage space for your cargo blind, which actually lives underneath here, which is really handy and a nice touch. And if I pull these levers, we can fold the back seats down, and now you have 1600 litres of usable cargo space. Okay, moving on to the interior, and I'm going to start here in the back seat because I am just amazed how much space I have got back here. Now I'm 6 foot tall. As a point of reference, I've got my driver's seat in the position that I would normally have it, and I have just got acres of room here, which is absolutely fantastic. Now Kia have managed to do this by moving the front wheels further forward and the rear wheels further backwards, and that gives them so much flexibility with the design of the interior. Headroom also okay. I've got about 1.5 inches until my hair touches the roof, so I guess you wouldn't want to be too much taller than say 6'3". You also get 2 USB-C charge ports, which are cleverly integrated into the front seats. Your climate control vents are here on the B pillar. There's an armrest in the center with some cup holders, which actually retract to give a bit more space in that cup holder section. And just down here, there is a 240 volt household plug where you can plug in other devices to charge. Right, moving on to the business end of the cabin. And I just want to address the elephant in the room. You might be watching this and have preconceived ideas of the level of quality associated with this brand. But I have to say, if this is the direction that Kia is going, I am 100% on board. From the soft touch materials here on the armrest to the funky design of the dashboard here and the patterns they have in the materials, through to the switchgear here on the center console, everything is really, really top notch. Now, is it Mercedes or Audi levels of quality? Well, probably not. But for the price point, Kia have absolutely smashed this out of the ballpark. Now, talking about this center floating section here, I really love the design language. Here you'll find your EV power button. You've got controls for your heated and cooled seats. You even have a control for a heated steering wheel, which in sunny Western Australia, not quite sure if that's relevant, but it's nice to have it, and at least there isn't a blank switch there. And check out this cavernous storage space down here. I suspect that's going to be great for handbags, unless they're super huge. You also have your rotary gear selector at the top here, and there is some mood lighting that runs around the edges here. Oh, and of course, there's the wireless charger for your phone. Nice and convenient in the center. In front of me, I have 2 12-inch displays. The one on the left here is a touch screen, and that controls all your navigation, audio, setup, and all that kind of stuff. And in front of me, obviously, is the driver's display, and that shows you all your crucial information that you need whilst you're driving. There's also a really funky augmented reality head-up display, which actually projects your navigation markers or arrows onto the road in front of you. It's really intuitive, really easy to use, and it makes the whole system really user-friendly. Now, I just want to address this center panel here, which is actually a dual purpose panel, but it's received a bit of flack from some of the motoring journalists. So essentially, with this button here, you switch between your map, navigation, audio controls to your climate controls. And so the functions of these rotary dials on the edge changes. So at the moment I've got it in climate mode. These will control your temperature. And if I switch it back, we have file and tune on this side and volume and power on that side. And the complaint is that it's an extra button push to get to where you want to go. But to be honest, unless you're one of these people that constantly adjusts your climate control, you just go into the climate, you set it to auto, set your temperature, come back into your navigation menu or your audio menu, and you can enjoy your car in its perfectly climatized cabin with its climate control running in the background. It's really a non-issue for me. Now, as you would expect, the tech is absolutely loaded in this car. On this center menu, you have everything from your navigation through to digital radio. You have an EV menu, which gives you information on your state of charge and where the nearest charge station is. There's even a quiet mode, which redirects audio from the rear speakers away from the sleeping children in the back seat, and a voice memo function in case you have a brilliant idea on the road and you desperately need to record it. Now, talking about sound systems, Kia have actually teamed up with Meridian for the sound system in this car, and I have to say it's really impressive. I'm coming from a car with a Bang & Olufsen sound system, and comparatively speaking, this one is definitely up there. For the price point, I reckon Kia have nailed it on this one. Oh, and before I forget, along the dash here, there is mood lighting, and you can of course change the color to suit whatever mood you might be in. So let's talk about the seats, and I really love the two-tone design of these seats with the contrast stitching that sort of runs through this Alcantara type fabric in the middle. I will point out the interior is vegan friendly, so no need to panic. No animals were harmed to make the interior of this car. The headrests, I've got to say I'm not 100% sold on. They kind of jut out a bit. They're very proud and they constantly sort of push your head forward. I get the cool design and all that, but I think there could be some improvement as to the position of the actual headrest here. Now those headrests do make sense though when you engage this car's party trick, which is fully reclining front seats. So when you pull in to recharge your EV, you can recharge yourself with a nice comfy power nap. All right, let's talk charging. Let's just open the charge door here again, and you'll be greeted by what is basically the industry standard for vehicle or EV charging, with AC at the top here and DC down the bottom. Now with the AC, this thing will charge at a rate of 11 kilowatts, and through the DC up to 233 kilowatts thanks to its 800 volt architecture. Now, Kia claims if you can find the right charger, you can charge this car from 10% battery right up to 80 in as little as 18 minutes, which is a perfectly acceptable amount of time for a quick tinkle, buy some snacks, and maybe stretch your legs. All EV6s in Australia come with the 77.4 kilowatt hour battery. In the rear wheel drive cars, that's claiming you a range of around 500 kilometers. It drops to 480 if you have an all-wheel drive variant. I suspect though, given what I've experienced on the drive today, the real life applications that will drop just a little bit. The other party trick this car shares with its Ioniq 5 cousin is its vehicle to load capability. So with this adapter here, which you basically plug into the charge port back here, that gives you the ability to plug in any household items, whether you've got an espresso machine or a microwave or whatever you like, up to 3.6 kilowatts. And I'm sure that's going to be pretty handy on a camping trip. So that's a quick walk around of the new Kia EV6. But before we get it out onto the road, I want to know what you guys think. What do you think of the styling? Do you like it? Are there places that you think they could have improved upon for the price point? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are on the styling of the EV6. All right, let's hit the road. As you'd expect, being an EV, it's very quiet in here. Kia have done an excellent job insulating the cabin. I will say at high speeds there's a little bit of tyre noise that creeps in, but that's being really picky. On the steering wheel here, you've got your controls for audio, lane keep assist, radar cruise control, and all that good stuff. And you've got these flappy paddles at the back here. Now these actually adjust your regenerative braking, and in its maximum setting, you can actually drive this car on one pedal, on the throttle pedal obviously. Just think of all the money you'll save on brake pads. You'll also find your drive mode button, which lets you cycle through eco, normal and sports driving modes, and that'll change the way that the steering and the throttle response feels. Non-adjusting dampeners on this car means that the ride won't change. Maybe that's something that we can look forward to in the GT model, but the suspension has been tuned to Australian conditions, so overall this car actually handles better than the Ioniq 5. One of the features that I really love is the lane change assistant, the graphical display that you get in the driver's display. So if I put my indicator on, I'll get a small screen which will actually show me the camera view of my blind spot on whichever side I'm indicating to. I think it's a really clever feature, and Kia have really hit the nail on the head here. And I suspect it's going to be one of those features that once you've lived with it, you're going to wonder how you lived without it. On top of that, you'll find a whole raft of safety equipment on this car, including autonomous braking with cyclist and pedestrian detection. You've got rear and front cross traffic alert. You've got lane keep assist with the active assist here on the steering wheel. You've also got front and rear parking sensors and a really trick 360-degree parking camera, which we'll run across a little bit later. But let's talk about acceleration. So in the rear-wheel drive models, Kia is claiming a 0 to 100 sprint in around 7.3 seconds. If you upgrade to the all-wheel drive model, that reduces down to 5.2. But hold on to your hat, because the GT model that's coming out next year is claimed to do a sub 3.5 second dash to the 100 mark. And that is something I'm very excited to experience. But just cruising around town, this rear-wheel drive model is more than capable. And being an EV, Of course, you get that instant torque whenever you put your foot down. Now, I mentioned that 360-degree camera before, so let's check that out. Resolution is good, could be a little bit better, but it's definitely going to get the job done. There's a raft of views that you can use for all sorts of applications, including the 360-degree spinner, which you can sit here and spin to your heart's content. So the EV6 certainly ticks a lot of boxes, but it's not all rainbows and unicorns. Here's 3 irritations. Although you've got a wireless charging pad right here, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay won't work unless they're plugged in, which kind of defeats the purpose. Despite all the room in the back seat, long-legged humans like myself are going to find that your legs are not really resting on the base of the seat. That's because the batteries are obviously mounted on the floor. It's made worse by the fact that you can't actually squeeze your feet under the front seat just because it sits so low. So you kind of end up going a little bit side saddled and looking a little bit awkward. These indicators are pretty cool, but I think Kia has missed an opportunity here and at the front to make them sequential indicators. Come on Kia, who doesn't love a sequential indicator? Anyway, it's not all bad. Here's 3 things on the EV6 that are going to make you smile. These have got to be some of the coolest reversing lights in the market. Kind of reminds me of an Aston Martin Vulcan. It's very exotic. Passengers in the back seat generally have to make do with however their seat is set up, but not in the EV6, where even us plebs here in the back can recline our seat. This is the key to the new EV6, and you'll notice these buttons on the front here, which allow you to remote control your car in and out of tight parking spaces if someone's parked like a douche next to you, and you don't need to be in the driver's seat. Very handy, neat trick. Can't get it to work right now, but I'm sure there's something in the settings that allows me to do that. So there we have it, a full walk around of Kia's new EV6. This car has been a bit of a surprise for me, and it's a refreshing take on the EVs in the current market. I'd go as far to say that if I was in the market for an EV, the EV6 would be near the top of the list. But I might hold my judgment until they release the GT model, because with nearly 600 horsepower, that is sure to be a lot of fun. But I'm interested to get your thoughts, guys. Leave me a comment. What do you think of the styling, the tech? Maybe you've got a newfound appreciation for the Kia brand as a whole. Is the value proposition there for you? Comes with a 7-year warranty, and it's definitely a lot of car for what you get. Let me know in the comments below. I'd like to extend a massive thank you to John Hughes Kia in Victoria Park for lending me their one and only tester for the day. Now, if you're in the market for an EV and the EV6 has tickled your fancy, go and have a chat to the guys at John Hughes, but probably wouldn't leave it too long, because I'm told there's only 500 of these coming to Australia at the moment. So don't hang about, give the guys a call. They're really, really friendly to deal with. But that's it from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, consider subscribing, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our future reviews. See you next time.